Hello everyone, my name is Kara Ockendon of Soul Healing. I'm a conscious relationship separation divorce coach specializing in conscious relationships and conscious uncoupling from your relationships and also your relationship patterns. Now today I'm going to be speaking with Nicole Yeates of Get Brain Fit. She helps people to really balance their brain and train their brain to show up in healthier ways when there's patterns that may be a little bit stuck and rigid, particularly those that may be generated in things like neurodiversity and trauma. She's an excellent tool to have in your tool belt to help you if you're struggling through relationship patterns and issues. An additional tool to the resources I offer as a relationship coach. So come along with me now as we have a chat. Hello, today I'm here with the magnificent Nicole Yeates. She is a brain optimism consultant, an NDIS provider, and a best-selling author. She's also the founder of Get Brain Fit, and she's a real brain changer through her tools using neuroscience. Now, Nicole's not just your average person, though. She actually has a lot of experience in working with the brain in her own life experience, having recovered from significant brain trauma when she was just 16, where she was told at that point in time that expect death or life as a vegetable. Now, clearly that hasn't been Nicole's path because she's clearly a very determined person. And now she prides herself in helping others to get brain fit and to develop their brain health, to increase their memory, their focus and productivity, and reach peak performance. So, Nicole, such a pleasure to have you join me here today. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and your journey and how you help people.
Thanks, Kara. Great to be here. Look, I'm 53 years old, and I believe every year is a blessing.
Beautiful.
I don't mind aging at all, having died a few times. I live in Sin with my amazing partner, John, and two 14-year-old cavoodles, which are in a meal. I love live music. I love changing brains. I love helping people become expert barrier crackers. I love traveling. Not all necessarily in that order, but yeah, that's sort of a bit about me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tell me a little bit more about, how you help people through your business, Get Brain Fit, and how you assist people and the tools you implement and the like.
Yeah, sure. Look, after 16 years of working in the occupational rehab industry, as a rehabilitation counsellor, helping people who've been injured at work basically get back to work. It was the first lockdown in Brisbane during the COVID-19 phase.
Yeah.
And I decided to take the opportunity to write my first book.
Wow.
And that's, holding on to hope.
Beautiful.
So through the process of writing this book, my business, Get Brain Fit, was basically born. And, I took further study through Dr. Daniel Amen in America to become a certified brain health professional. Did some NLP training. I did lots of different things to help people rewire their brains so they can improve their memory, mood, productivity, and grit through getting brain fit. Then I applied to become a registered NDIS provider, which I got this year.
Beautiful.
And I primarily work with participants with mental health issues, ADHD, and other neurodiversity diagnoses, brain injury from accidents, stroke, etc. And also with corporate people who may just want some focused goal planning assistance, to help them be more confident, to get real clarity on their goals. So I've got a vast toolbox of resources that I use to assist people sort of overcome their limiting beliefs and like that. Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit then about how you help them. So how are your services and offering different. I think you mentioned to me previously when we spoken that you have a little diagnostic tool that you can use to examine the brain and the like, which I found so fascinating. Maybe if you could talk a bit into that.
Yeah, sure. So as becoming a licensed trainer for Dr. Daniel Amen, he wrote Change Your Brain, Change Your Life back in the 90s, huge success book. And because I've done my training through him, I have access to some really cutting edge neuroscience tools. And one of those is the brain system assessments or brain optimization assessment, which basically it's a questionnaire that people fill out to determine which areas of their brain are struggling. So whether it be the frontal lobe, the limbic area of the brain, the basal ganglia, the anxiety center of the brain, wherever there are issues in the brain, that generally helps to explain the symptoms people are getting. So sometimes there's a bit of, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. People may have been going to talk therapy for years, psychological counselling and so forth, which may have got them so far, but then they might tend to reach a bit of a plateau, and no amount of further counselling, if you've done 5 years of counselling, how much more can you learn, really? Looking at the brain to see what's going on with the brain, what areas of the brain are actually struggling, can give us a whole new picture and a whole new set of implementations that we can do, or interventions, to help strengthen those areas of the brain. It's and I also use neuro-linguistic programming. I'm a master hypnotherapist. I've got a lot of tools in the toolbox to help people to improve their brain function and cognitive function, their memory, mood, etc.
Yeah, I love that about you. And, we've spoken before, and for me, I'm very a big advocate of having, certain number and a big toolbox, not just a confined, restricted toolbox, and being really open-minded about the tools that can assist you. Because like you say, absolutely talk therapy and psychology and psychiatry all have their place, and they have their own benefits in helping people, but there's no one tool or one-stop shop that's really going to see someone be fully, fully assisted in every area of life just through one pill, so to speak.
A really holistic kind of framework. And the work I do actually enhances the work that psychiatrists and psychologists do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So can you give me an example of some of the people that you've helped? Maybe specifically, obviously, I'm in the relationship field. Some challenges that people may experience in the relationship field may be relational trauma. Like you say, it could be people struggling with neurodivergency, which inevitably impacts relationships. Things like PTSD, complex trauma, addiction. So are those sorts of things that you can help people move through? And have you got a case study or someone that you might have helped move through some of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, brain health is critically important to managing and recovering from relational trauma, complex PTSD. Fostering that environment where neuroplasticity can actually be nurtured is really important, because forming new connections is rewiring your brain, and that's what change is all about. So we're thinking one way. In order to think another way, we need to have a new program. So people with complex PTSD in particular often have dysregulated stress, sort of things, stressors, which make them sort of more reactive to perceived threats and stresses. Where brain health strategies can actually help to stabilize mood and reduce anxiety just by balancing the neurotransmitters. A balanced brain can make all the difference, and it reduces inflammation, which can lead to a more sort of regulated stress response. Trauma can impact cognitive functioning, like memory, focus, and executive functioning, like time management, organization. Brain training exercises can aid that. Can really help to build that cognitive functioning and resilience. Healthier brain is more resilient to stress too. By focusing on that overall brain health, people can really improve their capacity. And that holistic kind of response. And in regard to examples, for sure. Let's see, I'll try and give a couple examples of different areas. So I was working with a young man. He had finished high school and he had a brain injury as a baby.
Wow.
He was basically, when I first met him, he was very depressed, very anxious. He was on disability pension. He didn't have any idea what he wanted to do with his life. He had no friends. And was really stuck. And basically I did that brain optimization assessment, identified which areas of his brain were struggling, and designed a brain optimization program to strengthen those areas of weakness. Now today, it's a couple of years later, today he's working in his ideal job full time. He's got so many friends that he runs meetup groups and
amazing.
Another lady, Jody, who basically she had suffered trauma in her early sort of marriage and things, and she had severe anxiety, which kept her trapped at home, vomiting in the toilet at least a couple of times a month. She had years of talk therapy. and was looking for that something different. And after 2 sessions of hypnotherapy with me, she actually did a video testimonial, and it really changed her life. She's no longer in that, so she can manage her anxiety. Another lady with ADHD who really struggled to talk in crowded areas. She's also on the spectrum, but very, very high functioning. She spoke to hundreds of people on, public speaking and things like that. She's very creative, very intelligent. But, having a conversation in a crowded room really set the anxiety levels on fire, and she couldn't cope. She couldn't remember what they said. And she said to me, Nicole, I feel really stupid.
Wow.
I did a brain optimization assessment. No one had looked at her brain. And basically I gave her a couple of brain training exercises and a supplement. A month later, she called me and said, Nicole, you've changed my life. She can have a conversation anywhere now. And
that's phenomenal.
Two examples. Then you've got, people like I work with corporate people who are, struggling with things like confidence for public speaking. And that's where I use my NLP, neuro-linguistic programming techniques to help with that. And I've had some great success in that area too. Goal focus.
Beautiful. So can I take a step back? I just want to, because some people who are not familiar with the terminology we're using here, it might be a good idea just to speak into that. So you spoke around neuroplasticity. So for those who aren't familiar with brain trauma and brain functioning, they may not even know what that term means, but I know what it means because I've had a stroke myself, as you're aware. But so I might let you explain that as the brain changing expert.
Okay, no worries. Look, in years gone by, and it wasn't that many years ago.
No, it wasn't, was it?
Doctors believed that the brain was fixed, like the concrete under our feet. Once we reached adulthood, that was it. What you got, that's what you're stuck with. Now we know the brain can change at any age. So it's capable of forming new connections through new learning, and new environments can change your brain. Basically, we can change our brain. The input we give it can give a different result and create new connections. It's kind of like a forest growing new trees.
Yeah, I love the tree analogy. I use that frequently myself, with the neurotransmitters and the neural pathways, and we can create new branches. The old branch is still going to be, the root system's still going to be there, but we can create new pathways.
But if we don't use those old pathways regularly, those old pathways tend to wither. And
that's right. Yes.
Like you've got a skill that you've used, but you haven't used it for years. You go back to do it, and it's like, oh, how do I do that again? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's that too. Beautiful. And you spoke about balancing the brain. So can you speak a little bit more into that in terms of how you mentioned supplements, and obviously you got your tools like brain training. So how would you go about if you're talking about balancing the brain? What do you mean? If you can speak a bit more into that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's say someone with ADHD, for example, will typically have lower function in the frontal lobe of their brain. So the executive functioning skills like organization, time management, some memory issues sometimes, that can be a little slower. The blood flow to that area is poor in a lot of people with ADHD. So what we want to do is help increase the blood flow to that area so that it becomes a more balanced brain. It might be, actually, I've been working with a lady on the spectrum who, after my brain analysis, basically it came up to she was low in serotonin. And that was causing her to be quite rigid in her thinking. She didn't like change at all. She's one of those people that typically says no to everything.
Yeah,
wow. So she needed some serotonin boosting in order to balance her brain. So it can be many different things. There's 16 different brain types. There's 7 types of ADHD. There's multiple types of anxiety and depression. So we need to know what we're working with in order to get the right solution. Otherwise, it's like shooting arrows in the dark. You give someone an SSRI when you haven't looked at their brain. You've heard, I'm sure, of stories where people have taken certain antidepressants and it's made them worse, or no
100%.
result.
They literally say that on the packet. May cause suicidal thoughts on every single one of them. Right? So Yeah, and you don't want that.
No,
Absolutely
not at
right.
all. So when we actually look at the brain and figure out what's going on, it can give us clues as to what medication, if needed. I always prefer to go down the natural route first and brain training and so forth, but some people do need medication, and we just want to make sure it's the right medication, and looking at the brain is a critical part of that.
And it makes so much sense, and it's always outstanding to me that it's not done this way to begin with. I mean, it's mind blowing. But you know, there's no system's perfect, and the medical system is not perfect as well. That's why we have holistic avenues as well. But what I love about your work is the capacity I can see to help people. You know, people that I work with in relationship coaching, where they may be living with, you know, being a bit neurospicy, or may have had that, you know, that upbringing trauma that's led them to live with complex PTSD, or relational trauma that's PTSD, that may be impacting their current relationships and seeing them in, you know, some unhealthy patterns, or just a real struggle to show up in the way that they would like to. I mean, I can do a lot of work and help people identify patterns and where they need to make changes and where they need extra support and what patterns may exist for them. But at the same time, I can't give them all the tools to acquire or, you know, all the tools to make all the changes that they need. I can show, okay, you need this tool, this tool, this tool, this tool, similar to what you do. Like, you know, this is where you need to improve the areas in your relationships in order for you to have healthier relationships. But you may need to bring on other people onto your team to facilitate that real transformation. So I kind of do the base level work, and then there's other people we bring in, and I do myself as well in the work that I do. So I think it's really amazing the work that you're doing in helping people, you know, in that way. And I love that you know, have the capacity to sort of diagnose those kind of more details, more specifics for people, so they're getting the right tools, as opposed to, you know, like you say, well, try a bit of this, try a bit of that, and see what works. You know, wait 3 months for medication to see if that works, and then it goes worse, well, they'll try another medication. Like, it's not ideal in the slightest. So yeah, I'm really excited about the work that you do. So you don't just help people in the NDIS program, you do help people. I mean, you can support people through the NDIS process, is my understanding, but that's not all you do. You help individuals who are not on NDIS.
That's right, absolutely. You know, whether it is needing to, as I said, get more focus. Like, I work with people who are entrepreneurs and can sometimes do with some help on goal setting and bringing those goals to life, especially if they're business owners with ADHD, for example. And you know, having a really clear and easy action plan for those things that need to be done. Hypnotherapy can help anyone. You know, I help people to quit smoking, to lose weight, to manage anxiety, to you know, whatever they want. And basically, there's a hypnotherapy pretty much for every goal. And I love hypnotherapy. It's such a comfortable kind of, you know, you don't have to sort of go into, like, for example, for anxiety, the lady who I was helping with anxiety, who had incredible results, she didn't have to go into any aspect of the trauma of the past. She didn't have to talk about it one little bit. All that we did was give her strategies, that talking to her subconscious, to give her strategies to deal with that anxiety in the future.
Beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, and I do love that about hypnotherapy. I've also been a recipient of hypnotherapy in the past myself as well, and it's a very powerful tool to have in your tool belt. So can you tell me then as well, Nicole, how would people get in contact with you if they're wanting to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to my website, www.getbrainfit.com.au, and it's got sort of more of my story of the written and holding on to hope there. And Facebook, Get Brain Fit, it's got its own page. Email me, nicole@getbrainfit.com.au, or call me 0466 123 370.
Wonderful. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today, Nicole. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I will put your details down in the comment section of this clip so people can reach you and contact you as another tool in their tool belt. But thank you so much again. It's such a pleasure as always. And I hope you have an amazing day.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Kara. Great to chat. Have an awesome week ahead.
You too.